Hey everyone, welcome back to the NHL Coast to Coast podcast. I'm joined with my co-host for all 48 episodes now, Mr. Tori. Welcome back. We're about halfway through the first round of the 2021 NHL playoffs. A couple series are already in the books. We're going to talk about all the series so far. I think of the latter half of the podcast, so you can look ahead to that. Otherwise, we got a couple other topics we want to run down, but welcome everyone.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a change up today. I know we've done a couple of these before where we've done morning episodes.
Yep.
We traditionally do it at night. So sometimes we, don't have as much energy, but I feel like we're both ready to go. So let's jump into it. I know one of the first topics you had here was in Columbus, some changes that you wanted to talk about there.
Yeah, so Davidson was re-signed up, or not re-signed, well, kind of re-signed, coming back to
Brought
Columbus,
back.
coming back to Columbus as their team president. And I like how you give it to me because Kakalainen, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, yep.
Gives
Good job, Jarmo Kekalainen.
he's given an extension as well.
You know how long? I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch it, no.
Oh, okay.
But extension at least 2 years, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So at least Columbus is saying, okay, we're gonna continue with these two guys forward for at least a little half. It's hard to say. Are they gonna enter rebuild, or just are they gonna start going for it again?
I think their first thing is specifically Columbus. They got to determine what they're going to do with Line.
Yeah.
The one thing that I said way back when they traded a centerman for a winger is you never do that. And especially because right now, according to some of the industry, insiders, they're speculating or suggesting or connecting, however you want to phrase it, Columbus to trying to obtain a top line center moving forward.
Yeah.
So it's just like it doesn't seem like Line is fitting, but now you're chasing a center. There's a lot of teams that are chasing a center. Look at Montreal. They've been chasing a center for years. Look at Toronto before they finally got one. There's a lot of teams that chase true number one centers for
a decade.
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Potentially never get them, right?
Yeah.
So I mean it's something that is kind of interesting. But that being said, I think they have some interesting pieces there. They kind of have an intriguing situation where they've built almost this I mean a lot of people don't want to play there, but almost this mystique of like, a lot of people who almost like the old Leafs, a lot of people who don't get chances elsewhere are now going to go to Columbus because they know they're going to get a chance,
Yeah.
specifically when they announce their new coach. I think they're going to go with a coach that is a player friendly coach to try and rebuild that, like, remember a couple of years ago with that cannon in the playoffs? Everyone was loving Columbus, right? It feels like they've fallen so far, right?
I'll never forget the first time I figured out about the cannon. It was when I bet on Montreal to beat Columbus, and I forget the name of the backup goalie that was in net for Montreal, but Columbus put up 10, so I saw that cannon popping off against me. So
you're like, I get it. I now know what you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do forward. I'm not super intrigued about their future. I actually think that they're going to end up trading Line, because Line, according to many conversations I've heard on like radio and stuff, he wants to be in California. That's
But
just
isn't
a
his contract
known
over?
thing.
Or is
No,
he
I think he's got
RFA?
1 year, and then I think
Oh,
he might have ARB. Maybe I know he's owned his rights ownership
so he's a
is
slave.
2 more years. So 1 more year, and then this year, and then
next
1 more
year,
year,
yeah.
and then UFA. So they have to decide either this summer trade him for what they need, or give him a 1 year extension, but then risk him walking to free agency, or maybe give him a 2 year deal, and then after one additional year he walks to free agency. Either way, if that's a 2 year that lines up with the Kekalainen extension, that could be something, a storyline that's connected to each other, right, the entire
Yeah,
time.
that's
So
true.
I mean, you make that trade and you fail, that probably kills your career. You keep them and it doesn't work out, that probably kills your career. You keep them and it works out, or you
That's a
trade
good
them and it
point.
works
That's a
out.
good point.
That's the only way to save your career, right? So there's a lot of pressure on them right now.
It's
So
gonna be
it'll be
fun.
interesting to see what
Yeah.
happens. Yeah. Speaking about free agents, one of the
Yeah.
upcoming pending free agents, which is an interesting story, but probably not a story at all,
I had no
is
idea.
Alexander Ovechkin.
I had no
Yeah.
idea. This off season he could go anywhere.
Anywhere.
Send him to Pittsburgh.
He has stated in the past he'd love to play with Sid. Now I don't know how legitimate that is, and I don't know
Yeah, you
how.
don't know if their like actual personalities would actually match up in a team environment.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they could end up hating each other after a few weeks and being like, "Fuck this guy," right? I
or
mean, they both have enigmas, right? So I
yeah,
mean, they could clash. You don't know, right? So, but imagine a Capital moving to be a Penguin in the offseason. That would be something. But
yep,
I don't think he moves anywhere. I couldn't see him playing anywhere else. But stranger things have happened, I guess, right?
yeah.
But
It
what
depends.
would you put the odds of him leaving?
I would say it's favored he leaves.
Yeah,
Maybe at least 50-50.
you think so? That much?
I don't know if he wants to be around for
Oh,
what Washington's about to go through.
that's true. But Washington's built the team to support his type of style. Like he
Yeah,
goes to almost any other team and he can't quite play that style. There's a
I
lot of
get
teams
50.
that
Yeah,
don't play the
maybe
north south.
maybe he cares more about the career goals scoring, and his best opportunities probably stay there.
Yeah, because it's built around him, right? He's going to stay on the power play. Even if he doesn't pound as many goals, they're still going to give him the opportunities because of the legacy there, right? So,
Yeah,
like, I mean, I don't know, but who knows? Maybe he just,
yeah. My
they
mind just
speculated he
changed.
could sign they said that
He froze.
there's multiple different places. Oh, I froze?
Yeah, you're
I'm
back.
back?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. There's some speculation he could sign a 1 year deal a lot of different places. Um, One of them I've heard is Colorado. One of them I've heard is New York Rangers.
that'd be crazy. Yeah, it'd be
Colorado
fun.
maybe if you want the cup again, but like Rangers, I don't see stuff like
To
that.
me,
They're not built quick. But
I think he would prefer to have the goals record than another cup. But I don't know. I
yeah.
have no idea. I've never talked to the guy, so only
Yeah, and as I just
speculating.
threw out the Rangers name, I just realized Panarin's there, and maybe he would want to go play with Panarin. That would make a pretty dynamic top line.
Maybe, yeah,
You'd have to get defensemen from the Rangers, but anyways,
yeah.
I
Undo
want
it.
to get to your take
Yeah,
with the next topic here with the Canucks. You're kind of in that land. Do you have a read? Do you have a
I
temperature gauge on anything?
I don't. To be honest, it's
No.
not the greatest. I wasn't paying attention to the Canucks this season. Normally I take in Canucks by osmosis, like people around me, but the whole work from home and not the COVID situation kind of isolated everyone, right? So I
Yeah.
haven't been getting that kind of information. So I don't know what the fans are really feeling because I don't listen to Canucks radio because it doesn't exist anymore.
Hmm.
Um, and their season was like kind of like so lackluster with the whole COVID outbreak and the end of the season. Like they were still playing games while the playoffs were going. Like
Yeah.
very strange, right? So
But do you
no,
know how long he's been there?
Benning's been there. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
7 years.
I don't know. Did you? I did hear they're bringing the Sedins back into management, so I guess there is that side of it.
Mhm.
I don't know if that's just going to be another Trevor Linden situation, but I don't know what Trevor Linden was like to the fan bases here or kind of what he was like. I don't know much about him, but I do know the Sedins and how they carry themselves as competitors and just in business in general. So I
Hmm.
think they could be a really big boost to this team's organization.
I don't understand why they didn't try harder. I mean, I know they ended up retaining Travis Green as coach, but it just seemed from afar that they were just kind of like, yeah, we'd like him to stay around, but like, we're also open to other opportunities. And it's like,
That's
you,
the
you should,
exact it's the
you
exact same
shouldn't be
thing they
like
did.
that.
It's the exact same style that they did with Markstrom. It's
Yeah,
not really, to me, it's not a positive way of handling people. So
yeah.
maybe they need to bring these Sedins in to kind of manage the people side of it because that seems to be where they're lacking some decision making.
And it's weird to think too, some of this money that they've spent on these guys that are not helping them at all at the bottom end of their roster, like you take those out of the equation. Now you have all this extra money to give these guys and take a different approach and be like, hey, here's the money. Like, we want you here. If you want to go somewhere else, that's on you. That's your decision. But we want you here. That should be how you approach it. And that, like, you'll never have a winning environment because now Travis Green is not fully committed, right?
Yeah.
Like he's open to listening to other
It's kind
opportunities
of
if
like
something
he's
else comes
he's
along.
not
Like,
he's not in a lot of closed door like there's closed door meetings behind closed door meetings behind closed door
mhm,
meetings. That's the feeling it gets sometimes, and
yeah. I think that if the coaching market wasn't so flooded this offseason, I think he would have walked. I think he would have got a different opportunity, been like, I can show somewhere else that I'm just as good.
Yeah.
You don't realize what I'm doing for you. I want the recognition somewhere else, kind of thing. But with so many coaches on the market and so many good coaches according to the industry on the sidelines already, you step away when there's an opportunity. You might not get an opportunity for a year or two,
Yeah.
right? So, especially during a pandemic, like take the money, right? So, I mean, I can get it from that standpoint. But another interesting thing as well is the candidates for Seattle for coaching.
Yeah.
One thing I had heard, which was extremely interesting, and it was connected by a reliable source, was that one of Seattle's number one decisions or number one desires for coach is Joel Quenneville.
Damn. How are they gonna pull that off?
Well, there's some speculation that Florida wants to save some money and stuff,
Of course.
specifically if they're going to end up buying out Bobrovsky. So there could be a way under a mutual termination where they would walk away from each other, both Florida and Quenneville at the end of the season, and then Quenneville would just basically step on in Seattle,
Okay.
and Florida would go and hire somebody else, and probably somebody who is like a new guy, maybe a cheaper guy. So then they could save. I think Quenneville is getting like 4 million. Like they were
Yeah.
desperate when they brought him in, right?
They were,
So,
yeah. And I guess they squeezed what talent they could out of them.
hmm. And he probably said like, I'm not coming to you unless you give me this term, knowing that if I fail after 2 years, I'm still going to be paid for 3 years of employment afterwards, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to burn at your stake, but if I happen to burn at your stake, it gives me 3 years to recover, volunteer, maybe get the junior team or the Canadian team and go and show that I'm worth it and get a second chance somewhere or an assistant coach role, whatever, right? Whatever the
Yeah.
route may take. But one other thing I thought was valuable that I kind of upset at myself I didn't put on the topic list here, just about when you were talking about different hirings and stuff. We've seen three, unfortunately I should use the word groundbreaking hires. It's unfortunate that I say unfortunate because it's taken so long for us to get here.
Yeah.
But with the three females being hired as different roles within the NHL at high levels, two of them with the Leafs, was it Haley Wickenheiser and oh shoot. Oh crap! I forget her name. I forget her name. And then Megan. Oh crap! Now I'm drawing a blank. This is the worst. Megan in New Jersey was hired as well. So I mean, it's good to see some changes. It's bad on me that I forgot their name already. I definitely apologize for that. But yeah,
It's hard, dude. There's 8 billion people out there. There's news being thrown at us 1,000 times a minute. If we didn't, that's why we keep the notes and stuff, right?
Yeah.
I can't even help you out. So who am I to throw shade?
Let me
right?
just quickly do this.
Yeah.
Hire, because they definitely deserve the recognition under their names. So Haley Wickenheiser.
Yeah.
And Danielle Goyette. That's what I was looking for. And then in New Jersey, they hired Megan Duggan. That's who it was.
Okay.
So yeah, shout out to those big news, specifically in Toronto,
changes.
because they had Scott Pellerin, who was I think at the helm under player development for 7 or 8 seasons. So like, as we talk or I bring it up many times, a lot of guys just stay in the same roles, specifically out of the spotlight, right? They stay there for years and years and years. It's nice to see, even with having success, for them to say, you know what, it's just time for a new voice. Sometimes it's just time for a new vision, new voice. And that's kind of what I was going to say back on Benning in Vancouver too, right? Like,
yeah, it's
sometimes you just need a new vision.
Yeah, you get stuck in your own ways. You need the creative thinking to come in there. Creative, new, etc. I like it. And
biases as well. Like sometimes coaches and management, whatever, you get in an argument with a player does something, or maybe they get drunk one night and you have to cover up a shenanigan of them and they annoy you as a man. Like there's different things that can happen that lead to, ruined relationships or biased relationships where it's almost like, yeah, you're on my team, but you're never going to succeed.
Or like even when new people come in, there's already that tension in the air kind of thing of like
exactly
the soured relationships. Yep. Totally.
Sometimes you just need people to come in and fresh view, fresh opportunity, whatever, and sometimes it can do wonders. Sometimes not doing that leads to your,
Yep.
ending. So, But the last thing I want to cover before we actually get into the playoffs here is my favorite. I don't want to get too deep in here. I don't know if you've caught the quotes or not, but
No,
about the
I didn't.
officiating.
No, I didn't even know this was happening.
Yeah, so there's been several questions, coaches, and according to I think it was Friedman or Johnson on Sportsnet was saying that before the playoffs, coaches and staff members and players were told basically do not run your mouth to the media. If you have something to say, bring it to
Yeah.
us on the
Okay.
sidelines. So then there's been and part of that was if you do, you will be fined and it will be heavy fines.
Makes
So
sense.
then you get, if you want to Google any comment you want to and check any quote you want to check, the point of this is that up to this time, not one single person has been fined for comments. But you can go out there and find quotes that are directly questioning officiating.
Oh,
So that leads to the question, if you told us beforehand, don't talk about it, or you're going to be penalized, but then we talk about it and you don't penalize us, is that admitting faults? Like,
that's
is that
interesting.
admitting that there's an issue there? Because if there isn't, then you easily penalize them, right? You say, no, you're wrong. Like, you shut up. We told you not to do this. Here's your fine. But because any of the comments that have happened, specifically one was Berube. Berube in St. Louis basically said that the series was bullshit. He said that the penalties are not being called fair. The series is not fair at all. They didn't have a chance. Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I'm paraphrasing, but that's pretty close to what he said. And that wasn't a fine.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like, what are you saying then?
Yeah.
What are you saying by this then, NHL?
I've pretty much got to the point now where I can't even pretend to put my mind in where their mind's at because they just run something. Oh, it's like a circus. It really is.
Yeah, it's that's the thing that I've come to a decision as well is that like you can debate whether or not you agree, disagree, it is or isn't 9 games, 4 games, whatever. The problem that I have is that you can put 10 people in a room right now that have all been hockey fans for 10 years, that are all fans of different teams and have different
Yeah.
biases, and they will all have
Different.
probably 10 different opinions on calls and whatever. And it's like, I know that there's a gray area for stuff. I know that there's some room for interpretation on stuff, but like it's a problem for me. Like that can't be the thing. And where this is coming to, I think, is that you have to have a board of decision makers or whatever. Basically, I think we were talking
Yeah,
about this.
a
Basically,
tribune.
they were suggesting, yeah, perfect. So basically, it'd be like a former ref, a former player, and like a former whatever, just like a party of people that have different
Kind of like the way they vote
biases or
for certain
representations.
trophies or Hall of Fame votes on certain sports and stuff like that. Just like a committee, essentially.
A committee, yes, exactly. And then that way the accountability is within that committee. And if there's 5 people or 3 people, whatever the number is, and there's a disagreement, well, the accountability between those people is to come to a decision.
Mm-hmm.
Albeit, if one says 9 games and one says one, and they're disagreeing, well, maybe you meet in the middle and you say 4 games.
But
And
I feel like
settle it.
one of the problems is too is they make a decision, but they don't like back it up. Like in court, if you go to court, then a judge makes a decision. He has a whole written decision, and it's there to go back and look at it as reference and all that stuff.
Well, according to the NHL, they still have these, but they're not
Oh.
accessible to the public.
What's the point?
That's exactly my response. So like it's not that they're not accessible, but like you got to dig for them. So it's like,
Yeah.
what's the point? You should have it on NHL.com. Like,
There you go.
suspensions and whatever. Video. Last night, this happened. This night, this.
That's why the
whatever,
Brandon
right?
Shanahan thing worked so well. Is because he broke it down.
Exactly. And he's
Yep.
like, if you don't like it, sure, send me a note. We'll discuss it and whatever, right?
Yep.
But I mean, I guess one other thing we should cover again before we get into
Kadri?
the suspension. Yeah, Naz. What's your take?
You're not. I wasn't ready for this question, Tori.
I know it was a bit off the top.
I honestly didn't see what happened.
Oh, okay. So basically, the St. Louis player was coming across the blue line on a bit of an angle, kind of coming from the left to the right side of the ice.
Yeah.
Take the shot, drop the pass back to Justin Falk. Falk got it, toe dragged it in a little bit, and went to shoot it. And as he toe dragged and went to go shoot, Naz came flying through and got him
Up high.
up high. Good way to phrase it because people are arguing whether it's head, shoulder. His head went like that. principal point of contact. I
What's
don't
that?
give a crap about that. His head snapped back, so he hit him in the head. Whatever you wanted to say after that. So, anyways, but here's the kicker: is that they say he's not a repeat offender. But if you go to the NHL video that people did find, they actually have a quote saying that because he's a prior offender, they've taken that into the evaluation of the suspension.
Oh,
How come you didn't do that with Wilson? Or how come in your rule book you say it's only for monetary values for repeat offenders? If it only doubles your fines, your salary loss, not your games. It doesn't have anything to do with games.
Yeah, and he got 8 games, right?
8 games, and now he's appealing. So, like, where are we going here, right? Like, they just swept St. Louis. So he theoretically would be out, 7 more games? So basically the entire second round.
I'm not gonna lie though,
if he appeals,
it's kind of ridiculous that he actually got himself into another situation when his team's gonna need him the most.
Did you hear the podcast that he was on?
No,
I can't remember what it was, whether it was Spit and Chicklets or like the Eggs and Boots or whatever it's called. But basically, I think it was Spit and Chicklets. He basically was like, "You don't think I'd do that a third time, do you?" That was literally this week. He was on a podcast saying, "You don't think I'd do that a third time, right?" Like the question was basically like, "Do you think you had to leave Toronto? Do you think that that would have happened again if you didn't end up moving on?" And he basically was like, "You really think that would happen a third time?" And like within 48 hours.
At the very least, though, this time doesn't. It's not like a retaliatory thing. In both Toronto and
predatory.
Yeah, he's not just trying to make a desperation check so that this guy doesn't get a shot off. I didn't see it. Like I can't talk. So
yeah, it's circa Matt Cook from
okay.
Back in the day. It's almost identical to those big hits that happened 5 years ago that the NHL was trying to get rid of. Those blindsides. Yeah. Like they gave him the suspension was for charging because they couldn't, the definition of blindside or whatever didn't apply because when the guy toe dragged, he opened his chest and he came on head on, but he hit him up top. So they couldn't define it as a blindside. So they gave him the true definition of the suspension is for charge.
Oh, okay. But has there ever been an 8 games for charge in that kind of situation? Seems kind of.
That's probably why he's appealing, right?
Yeah, I'm watching.
Like they probably looked at the past.
Man,
what they probably did is they probably pulled up videos and they said suspensions for charging, and they probably, if there's any, and they looked at the first 3 or 5 videos and said, if we compared these 3 videos for all charging, are they all the same? And they're like, no. So the Kadri's probably going to get less.
Yeah,
they'll probably drop off 2 or 3, I think. But it's also an independent arbitrator. It's not NHL governed.
Okay, good. So it's definitely
no
going
ties
to. It's going last. That's not 8 game worthy playoff games, to me.
Well, they said it's similar to Tom Wilson. So Tom Wilson got 20 games, and then he went to the arbitrator, and then what did he get? 12, 10, 8, 12? What was the number? I forgot.
I thought he served all 20. He didn't.
Was it?
I thought he did. To be honest.
Oh, okay. Maybe they were just talking about the process he was considering, maybe, and he didn't go through with it. Maybe that's what they were talking about. But yeah. So. All
right. Do you want to jump into these series?
One last thing that came to mind. One quick thing. The scary incident that we saw in the Leafs game. Just John Tavares. Obviously sending best wishes to him. That was the scariest thing I've ever seen. Probably. Well, no, it's actually the second scariest thing I've personally seen ever. But when he started flopping back and you could see like the blood coming down. That was the scariest thing I think I've ever seen, like in a hockey game on TV. And on top of that, the post media that put photos out of that on their front pages needs to give their head a serious shake. Like there's been a lot of talk that it was just all for clicks and any attention's good attention in media. But in this particular case, like think about if that was your son or if that was your dad.
They don't think, but like you said just there, they don't think about that.
Yeah, it was really disgusting to me.
Yeah, I agree.
But that being said, let's get into some playoff battles.
Some playoff battles. We already have 2 in the books. We touched
Yep.
pretty much on the major points of this first one already with Colorado and St. Louis, like the refereeing issue, the Kadri issue we talked about. But they swept them 4-0,
Yep.
and honestly they're pretty much outplayed the majority of the series. I didn't really watch a whole lot because the hockey didn't seem like it. I've seen Colorado running over teams all season, so I didn't need to see it again.
Yeah. Exactly. That's exactly it, right? This is the series I knew from the start I'd probably watch the least of.
Yeah.
And so far, that's definitely the case. Well, now that I can't even watch anymore, that's definitely the case for this first round. I watched a bit of the first game, which I felt like wasn't that the overtime game? Wasn't game 1 in overtime?
I think so.
So I think that I felt like St. Louis looked like when they came out in game 2, that it was like, fuck, we gave these guys our best game, and Binnington stood on his head, and we still lost. I think that just killed them, and they're just like, with the refs not giving us a chance, they're like, we're just slaughter basically. So we're done here.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of how it turned out. But
let's go on to this next one then. This one's a little more to talk about with Washington and Boston. Boston's put them in the books too. They're up. They win at 4-1 last night. This one started off with Washington with a 1-0 lead actually. And they won that game in overtime, and then they had a lead in the third period of the game 2, and you think, okay, they're going to go up 2-0, and I think if Washington goes up 2-0 in this exact spot, then they probably close the door from there on out. But unfortunately, they blow it. I think that game goes to overtime as well, and Boston wins that one. And then in
first 3 games, all 3 first games went to overtime.
Okay, there you go. And then in the third game, in the overtime, I can't recall if I feel like my gut's telling me Washington blew that game again.
It did, I think,
to send it to overtime. And then they blow it even more with the way the game ended, with Samsonov mishandling or miscommunication with his defenseman is probably the best way to put it.
Yeah.
But I've seen so many games end that way, those kind of goals.
Yeah, actually touching on Samsonov, there was a Russian outlet who was quoted in apparently when Ovechkin, like, I didn't see the incident, but I just saw a photo of Ovechkin yelling.
Yeah.
But basically he was yelling down his bench. So like you could tell he was yelling at his own players because he wasn't even facing the other team. And he was yelling, like to the point where he was like spitting, like he was furious. And basically what they were saying is lip reading what he was saying in Russian, because it wasn't in English, because people were trying to figure out what he was saying or whatever.
Yeah.
But in Russian, apparently he said something along the lines of, I forget now, but basically it was like, are you blind, kid? Like what are you doing? Like, get your head out of your ass. Like, apparently he was berating his goalie, like on the bench, which the reason it was brought up where people were saying old Ovi's back. The Ovi before he won the cup, where people are like, he can't lead, he can't bring his teammates up, he's gonna, he just expects them to be good. And people are talking about that, which is a different weird narrative. But basically, Samsonov, I wonder if Ovi has a condition where he says, I come back, we need an upgrade in the net.
That's kind of why I was talking about too, I thought it was 50-50 because of this whole incident that he resigned. So who knows? It's definitely interesting.
He'd have the power to be like, if I'm coming back, you're trading him, just get a different goalie.
Yeah, very true.
Especially when Craig Anderson was their best goalie. I mean, it's unfair to say that to Vanacek because he got hurt. He was playing well. But Craig Anderson was better than Samsonov, which is saying something when Craig Anderson's 41 and he played 3 games all year.
Yeah, very true.
But then you also have to consider COVID, right? Who knows how much COVID screwed up Samsonov. So, I mean, I guess you got to consider that as well. But
yeah,
it'll be interesting. I don't know where Washington goes from here. It's a bit of a mess, like you said, a bit of a circus.
Yep.
But Boston's through, and they're on to the next round.
Yep. Let's go to this, who they're going to face possibly next. Pittsburgh versus Islanders. They're tied right now 2-2. Game 5's today. So you might have happened by the time people watch this. But it's been a back and forth series. Lead changes, series lead changes. I think this one's going 7 in my eyes.
Yep, I think so too.
It's been fun though. It's been exciting.
Yeah.
exciting.
The one game wasn't. What was it? 5-1, I think
Yeah,
Pittsburgh won. That game was kind of a dud, but
for
the
the
rest of
most
them have
part,
been
yeah.
really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Game 5, very pivotal today. So we'll see. Not much more I can speak on this series.
Mm-hmm.
Who do you think has the better chance against Boston?
Don't know. I really don't know. I feel like the better team is Pittsburgh. In terms of like the sum of all its parts, but I feel like the team that plays the best or that plays the game that best suits the tools that they have is the Islanders. So like I know this is a bit of a cop out, but it depends on who plays their game.
Yeah.
Like if the Islanders play their game at the top level, I don't think the Penguins can win. But if the Penguins are scoring and they're breaking down the Islanders defense, I don't think the Islanders can keep up with them. But I also always have that asterisk with Jari that, one game he could save 56 saves and give up 2 goals and have a crazy save percentage. The next goal he gives up 4 on 21 shots, right?
No,
so
true. It's
hard to know.
Card for sure. For sure. All right.
Yeah.
Before we move to this next one, I just need a quick sec.
Nice.
So, were you gonna add something to that Pittsburgh thing before I had to...
Yeah, the last thing I was going to say on that one was just Sorokin. I think it's going to be Sorokin's coming out party. I think if the Islanders win this series, I think it will be large part to do with Sorokin's play, and I think he'll take the net from Varlamov. I think that especially if they make the second round, if he hasn't already had his party, I think he's showing that he's legit, and I think he's showing that he's clearly the Islanders goalie moving forward.
All right. Speaking of goalies becoming legitimate, let's go to the next series: Nashville versus Carolina. Nashville, I gotta admit, after the first 2 games, I thought it was over. I didn't think they had a chance, but they bounced back in a big way at home. So they always say, you haven't won a series till you win one on the road.
Or you haven't lost it till you lose one at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Either way,
yeah, that way, yeah. So Nashville comes back 2 back-to-back games in overtime. They win. Same guy scores. I can't remember who it was.
Double overtime as well. The second one.
Both of them were double overtime.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, sorry. Misspoke there, but yeah, this game's it's come back and it's turned into like scoring Nashville. 4-3 win and a 5-4 win to come back.
Yeah.
So
I don't think that's a good sign for Carolina because Carolina's supposed to be this juggernaut that like keeps you at bay. Yeah. The fact that they're giving up this much offense, I don't think it goes all respect to Nashville's offense because they're not that dynamic. But I mean, at the same time, like, yeah, it's kind of strange.
In the overtimes, Carolina seems to be having them suppressed and like they puck controlling that they have in their end most of the time and just not getting it done.
Not finishing it.
Yeah. So
Saros, your boy Saros is standing on his head.
Yes, I've been waiting. Yeah, it's time. I made the prediction. I'm riding Saros to the grave, so it could make or break my bracket.
It's going to be an interesting series. Like you said, after 2, I thought it was over. The fact that it's 2-2 now, it's a completely different series.
Yep.
Should be a good one. I'm a little bit expecting Nashville to fall on their face at some point. / Carolina to click into a new gear and just kind of take over.
I think Nashville, if they win Game 5, they'll win in 7. That's my prediction here.
Yeah. They have to win the next game. If they don't, they're done.
Yeah, I think
the next game's whoever wins the next game is going to win.
I think so too. So Game
sure.
5, big time. All right, let's go on to Vegas, Minnesota. I guess I haven't as a Vegas fan, I haven't watched every period of this series. It started off them getting shut out 1-0. That one went to overtime. Fleury standing on his head. Talbot standing on his head. Game 2, Minnesota comes out with 2-0 lead early, and Vegas continuing to be shut out after like a game and a half. But they finally cracked Talbot, and once they cracked him, they've been pouring in goals ever since.
Yeah.
And Fleury's added a shutout on there as well along the way, and Vegas is rolling. I expect this series to be over tonight.
Me too. It's already over
with Game 5. Oh, already over. I don't think it's.
I would say so.
I don't think it's as already over as another series we're still to talk about.
Yeah, but I just feel like Mini won 1-0, and it took an overtime performance of a lifetime with their goalie as well.
True.
And then they're playing this goalie who's playing probably the best career he's ever had. It's probably his career year. And they're playing the team who's the clear favorite. I think that the momentum, whatever you call it, I don't think Minnesota's got much.
You know what's gross? That Vegas has been doing this without one of their best goal scorers, Max Pacioretty, the whole time.
Oh, he's not even playing?
He hasn't been playing this whole series.
Damn.
He'll be back, though. Right in time for Colorado. What a series that's going to be.
I will be watching all of those games. That could maybe, other than the Cup final, that could maybe be the best matchup outside the Cup final.
Possibly could be, yeah.
I think on the Final Four, but yeah, we'll see.
All right, let's go to this other team that's fallen dud, Edmonton. They're pretty much in a hole now, and they're playing back-to-back.
Hey, wait, you skipped a series.
We're going to go back to that one.
Oh, okay. I thought we were finishing up with the North. My bad.
No, we've been all over the place.
Okay.
I just thought it was a good transition because they're as good as dead, too, as Minnesota. So they're down 3-0, and they play Game 4 today, so they could be out today as well. They will be out today as well. But Winnipeg, this game has just escalated from super close to being a blowout rather quickly. Winnipeg wins the first game in the third.
Steals the second game.
Steals the third game,
actually, too.
And steals the third game. The third game was the worst. Edmonton up 4-1 in the third. And Winnipeg scores 3 goals in basically 3.5 minutes to tie it up, and then they win in overtime. Just...
Sorry, I can't contain my excitement that this happened to a team that wasn't the Leafs, because it's happened so many times with the Leafs before that it's nice to be like, I know what that's like. It's just not me this time.
Well, to be fair, Oilers fans have been feeling these kind of things for a long time too. They've at least got
even what I said in the projection or the prediction show. I said with the series, I said that Edmonton is like the Leafs of a few years back, where they were one-dimensional. They rode what they were good at, and it got them to a certain part in the season. We all kind of probably expect Mike Smith to eventually come back down to earth. He let in a couple goals. You can't turn to Koskinen today. So it's Mike Smith or die, and I have a funny feeling
they will go to Koskinen today, won't they? It's back-to-back.
Maybe. I don't think that they can.
Do they?
But Edmonton's season was over the day they brought Mike Smith back and didn't find themselves or acquire themselves another goaltender.
Fair enough.
I never considered them serious when they didn't do that. But
yeah, and Hellebuck's showing why you need a goaltender. Really.
Yep.
Won them one game.
Have you been watching this series?
Pieces here and there. It's probably one of my more watched one.
Winnipeg's playing a really good team game.
Yeah.
They're just all over the place.
Got a good coach.
And they just got Ehlers back as well, right?
Yeah, and he had a great game yesterday. 2 goals and the game winner.
Yeah. Like I said, there was unfinished business between Winnipeg and Toronto. They need to clash, but we'll get there in a minute.
Yeah, so let's go back to that other Central then. Or I don't even know what division it is, but Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Florida Panthers. Mm-hmm. Oh, this one is Tampa show. I expected it to be a little bit closer, and Florida did take one off them. They're up, 3-1. They could be going home tonight. That game's playing today, too. So
I think
possibly 3 series coming to an end today. Well, another team only playing their 3rd game. So
2 of the 3 will end tonight. That's what I think. 2 of the 3 series. Yeah,
I agree. So, Tampa rolling. Kucherov's back. Hedman's in there. Florida, not so well. Their goalie situation. I was looking at the box score of the most recent game where they lost 6-2, and I was trying to, because I wanted to figure out what they're doing with their goalie. I went to the box score. I couldn't tell which goalie started.
They've been flip-flopping. That game, Bobo started, and then they went to Drieger at the end.
Okay, because they both played like half the game and like let in the same amount of shots to goals, and it was.
If you're the coach today, who is your goalie?
Probably
who are you putting in?
Bobo.
I would be sitting down with the general manager today, and I would be like, I need to know what your plan is with Bobrovsky. Are you buying him out or looking to trade him? Will he be back?
Yeah.
If you don't think he's going to be back, I would actually sit him, and I would start Spencer Knight, and I'd put Drieger in as the backup. Just saying, you are our guys. You're going to win it, or you're not going to win it, but you're going to be back with us next year, and you're going to have this building opportunity.
I guess what part of my decision there is that I expect them to keep Bobrovsky going forward. So that's why
I still have a weird feeling he's going to end up in San Jose. I don't know why. I just feel like he's going to end up there.
All right, let's go to this.
Like, no, crazy talk. No,
I'm not even entertaining it. Yeah. All right, last series. We got Toronto, Montreal. I'll let you take the lead on this one.
All right. Yeah, this has been an interesting series. I've gone through quite an interesting roller coaster of emotions just because for me, I've been so invested in this team. I've followed this team's prospects and whatever since they were kids, basically, right? Like I've been following these kids since they were drafted by the Leafs, hoping that one day we'd be in this position with them. And now that we are years later in this position, we're in the season that they're supposed to go far. They've traded for assets at the deadline. They have a team that's quote unquote complete. They have a legitimate team for the first time in my lifetime where I could actually say, I could see a path for you to go far. Maybe not win the cup, but go far into the playoffs this year. Other years past, it's just been, blind hope. Just like, maybe this is the year, knowing deep down it's really not going to happen. Yeah. Like maybe you win a round, but you're not going to go 4 rounds, right? So for me, for the second year in a row, due to accidental injuries, a critical Leafs player, has been taken off the ice on a stretcher. Well, last year was Jake Muzzin, who missed the rest of the series, which you could argue killed the Leafs' chance in the first round against Columbus or in the play-on.
Yeah, he's a big part of that team.
He was integral last year. And then this year, the guy who lots of people will argue Tavares whether he's good or not. But Tavares, for me, allows Matthews to be as spectacular as he is. It allows Matthews to get the offensive draws, and it allows Tavares to take the defensive draws. So that way you're not wasting Matthews' energy trying to get the puck back.
Yep.
Oh, additional time anyway. So that's how I
look at it. Bergeron on your team, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's not that good, obviously, but he just lets the other players play offense because
That's
he's
a nice
there,
tip of your
right?
cap to Bergeron.
Oh yeah, Bergeron's the best two-way forward in the NHL right now, maybe to play the game in the last 10 years. But yeah, Tavares is in that next tier probably. I think Tavares is a two-way forward. He's not like a defensive forward where you could potentially categorize like a Bergeron as a defensive forward. He's a two-way forward. He still makes his mistakes, whatever. He's always thinking offense from every opportunity, but he still can play defense on the defensive zone. Yeah. But with all that being said, to watch that happen to Tavares in the first half of the first period, with all of those things said, I just felt so cheated. I felt like it sucks for me to say this because obviously we're talking about somebody's life who could be altered or a pretty severe injury and whatnot, right? But it just felt so of course this would happen. You know what I mean? It felt so scripted that they find another way to fuck it up, and it's just
life is
out
so
of their
fun.
hands.
Yeah, life's so fun. You can't script a better thing.
Yeah, and it's tough because sports, that's the fun part of sports, right? And that's why we're all in it. But at the same time, and I don't feel like I'm owed anything by them, but at the same time, it's with me being so invested, this was the moment. This was that movie buffs. This is the movie you waited 5 years for the prequel or whatever, right? Yeah. And you go and you sit in the theater, and then basically the power goes out, and you're like, what?
Yeah, Star Wars Episode 1 coming out, and
yeah, whatever it is, right? For these movie people. So I'm not a movie guy, so whatever,
I just remember,
right? But whatever floats your boat.
That's the first movie that the most hype I've ever seen for years.
Yeah. So just imagine a situation like that. So it's just I went from, so all year regular season was just blah, right? Half the time I was just multitasking when I was watching the Leafs. I was watching them, I'd watch the goals, whatever, but there was nothing to lose. There's nothing on the line. You know what I mean? Yeah. So you don't really get invested. So the first game, I sat down. I'm ready for the game. I got my popcorn, not literally, but you know what I mean. I got my popcorn ready for the show, right? And it's just bang. my excitement level went from like a 15 out of 10. Like I was the most excited I've been about a Leafs team that I can probably remember, maybe since back when the Leafs got Owen Nolan. That's
Yeah.
probably the last time I've been this excited. And like that day was I was so jacked at that playoff year. And then that year Nolan hurt his knee too. Remember he got hit and he blew his knee out and he didn't play in the playoffs. So like there's always something, right? So it's like the Leafs, as a Leafs fan, my memories, all my good memories are of bad moments.
Or
because
like
the
when they
bar is so
traded,
low.
they traded for Gilmore at the trade deadline, and then he plays like
And he
half
played a shift.
a...
Like, I think it was like 2 shifts or whatever, like a minute.
Yeah.
Like Brian Leach, they acquired Brian Leach, one of the best defensemen. He was on the downcline at the end of his career, but he was still a smart defenseman that could play in the bottom pair and never give up a goal against and just move the puck well. And he couldn't play. It just always seems to be something. And like notice how I haven't even talked about the game. It's just about everything, all the layers on top of everything that I deal with as a fan. And it would just, my excitement, like I said, went from like a 15 out of 10 to like a 1.
So,
and I was out of it, and I was just like, why does it matter anymore?
After you had a few days to heal from the situation, and we're at this point now, it's 1-1. What do you tell yourself? Like, the Leafs going far, right?
Well, again, for me, this year was always about the Final Four, right? Like I've said that a million times. It's always about getting into the Final Four. And then for me, like with the whole investment thing, like, yes, I'm invested now, but like if and when they were to get to the Final Four, like that would have been the apex moment for me as a Leaf fan in my life. So like for me, that's what I was looking forward to. That's what I was grabbing onto. That's what I was looking forward to.
You think that's totally out of reach now?
I think they can still get into the Final Four. But if they face any of these teams, I think they have zero chance. You think Toronto without Tavares can play Vegas, or Boston, or Tampa, or Colorado and beat them? Maybe one game, maybe 2 games if their power play ends up heating up. But like, they're not beating them without Tavares. There's no chance. Can they beat Winnipeg without him? Sure. Can they beat Edmonton without him? Probably. They beat Montreal without him? They probably will. But like, there's a different pocket for me. Like, there's an excitement about winning a round and whatever, but there's an excitement of like the expectation of
being able
Final
to
Four
compete with
and
the
then
best of the
starting.
Best.
Yeah, like that's where the adventure really is supposed to start, in that Final Four for me. But like, unless Tavares can get back, which I don't think he's going to be back until the start of next season. I don't think there's a chance he plays this year. Like,
hockey players,
I have
are
zero
nuts,
expectation he's returning.
It's
true.
What if there's
He also sprained his knee.
Oh.
He sprained his formal injury is a sprayed MCL, which is a 2 to 3 week recovery time. That's his only. And a concussion.
Oh, okay.
So like, I mean, concussion and a sprained knee.
But concussions.
Concussions can be minimal or max.
Yeah,
right?
like sometimes they just are concussed for 2 days and then it's over. Like it can happen. Yep. So.
But then you talk to a guy like Mark Savard, who never played again, or like his day-to-day life is altered.
It can be 2 days. It can be year. Like who knows?
Crosby almost retired because of concussions, right? So I mean, you never know. I'm sure there's lots of players out there. You could probably build a long list of players that retired because of concussions.
So we'll see. I guess that's all we can really do.
Yeah, I mean, in short, like I'm gonna be watching. I'm not out of it. I'm enjoying the hockey. It's good hockey. I am enjoying the fact that they're playing Montreal because it's historic. Like, this is going to be something that we can talk about for a long time. But again, like, until they get the Winnipeg series should be good if they play Winnipeg and they get through. But again, because we don't have Tavares, it's just like the whole expectation maybe just came down. And it's just like, let's see what happens. Let's hope for the best. Yeah. As opposed to, we're a good team. Hopefully we can go far. And there's a large gap to cover between those two things. And for me, that's the hardest part. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. No,
I still feel gypped.
Pretty much, I think, summed up a lot of people's feelings on the matter.
Yeah. But I hope JT's fine. I hope he's recovers. We'll see. But best wishes to him for sure, because that was scary shit.
Yep, yep, totally. All right.
So how do you want to do a quick rundown of our changes on the brackets? Sure. You said that you now think Toronto's in 6.
Yeah. So I'll put up we'll start with mine, I guess.
Sure. Yeah.
I think Toronto's now, instead of the sweep, it's 6. Still think they get by. They might lose another one along the way, but I think they get by. Winnipeg's going to sweep tonight. Colorado's already swept. Vegas is going to end the series tonight as well. And then I got Nashville in 7. That was my original prediction. I'm keeping it that way. Tampa Bay in 6. That's my original prediction, so I'm just going to keep it. Could end today, but out of all the series, you said 2 were going to end. This is the one I say stays alive.
Yep, me too.
Pittsburgh in 6, just going to keep my prediction. They're going to come out and win tonight. And the other one I was wrong, way off. I thought Washington was winning, so.
Yeah. And do you have any changes to your final 4? Do you still think it's going to be Nashville, Pittsburgh, Vegas, and Toronto?
Yes. I do, yeah.
Guess this should be cool. Yeah. So I guess we'll go to mine quick. So I agree with you. Toronto will end up beating them in 6. I actually feel like they're going to lose tonight, but then they're going to win tomorrow and win the next game. And I have a feeling that the next game tomorrow that they're going to win, they're going to pile up power play points. I think they're going to get like 4 power play goals and win like 7-2.
That's crazy talk, but I like it.
And then I got the sweep as well. That series is over.
Yeah. After that fall apart in the third period, I don't think there's any coming back from that.
And we're now going to listen to a bunch of talk about how McDavid may want out, but that's not real talk yet. It's not like Eichel territory yet.
Yeah.
And then Colorado sweep. Vegas, I believe it's going to end tonight as well. I got a different opinion on you versus Carolina. I think Carolina's going to win the next 2 and get into their new gear. I think Florida's going to keep themselves alive tonight. Tampa will end up beating them in 6, though. I do think Pittsburgh's going to go to 7. And as we see, Boston's already 1 in 5. So I did make a couple changes to those along the way, obviously, from last week. Yeah. And I've made a couple changes to my final 4s. But I do have Toronto, Vegas, Tampa, and Boston, which will be exciting to listen to in the offseason again from all the complaints of the other teams that I've heard being like, oh, we're in the toughest division. Yeah, well, now that basically would solidify that conversation about how Toronto, Tampa, and Boston would theoretically have to play each other every year, and only one of those teams will ever get an opportunity to go far in the playoffs, which
yeah.
Kind of bullshit, but we'll another conversation for a different day.
Sounds good. Sounds good. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else I have to say, so we can just wrap it up here. Thanks for joining us. It was a hell of a ride, and it's still more to come. Episode 50 coming around the corner.
Oh yeah.
Peace.